What's new out there?
Nice shirt, man.
How much?
Just got
I
into
should be wearing.
my second escrow in a week. Just this morning, my clients accepted the buyer's offer from the Sunday showing. So yeah, last Thursday, I went in escrow with the Garden Grove home, and then today escrow with the Anaheim home. So
Exciting! Look at
Good
you go.
I know I'm actually a real agent.
You always were.
I know, I'm
Always
teasing.
were. Good stuff.
Yeah, I
That's
ended up
awesome.
with 25 offers on the Garden Grove house.
Hey, can you share with us?
Dang.
Dang, that's awesome. Can you share with us what the price point was on that?
So we went in at 650. It's a total fixer-upper. I mean, it needs everything. It was in a trust.
No.
But it's Garden Grove. It's just crazy hot. You can't keep anything on the market there. So I had the first showing on Sunday. Over 30 agents came through. By Sunday night, I had 15 offers, and then just kept going and going and going. And then
That's
finally, yeah, we ended up accepting an offer at 680, and so we're in escrow with that one. Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
A
What
little
was-
overwhelming though, having that many offers come bombard. I've never had that happen before, so there's a lot to process.
Oh, that's great. And so, what was the winning offer? What was the? How were they separated?
On it was, well, we obviously started off with price, but then the agent, I mean the seller actually chose, which was interesting because she had two cash buyers. She went with the underdog, and it was a first-time buyer, a young girl that wrote a really great letter that kind of explained her life and being poor, and now she's buying this house for herself, and then her parents are moving in. So it touched the seller's heart, and so she went with that offer. And so she didn't have the big down payments and all the other things. So
Yeah, it's something definitely to mention, and those of you who know me and who have heard this story of what I do for the buyers, we even create a video for the buyer, sharing with the seller, how much they love the house and how they can see their family being raised there, and to be honest with you, Kim, a lot of the times when you have a family who's making the offer, or who's the seller, who's making the response, they'll choose something with a little bit of emotion in it versus dollar for dollar. See it all the time.
well, it's the second one. Even with Anaheim, the wife wanted a family. The husband's like, I don't care, I just want the money.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it was in a trust. So this woman, she's in her 60s, but her parents bought that house when she was 10, and so it definitely was
a lot of emotion.
thought process. Yeah, and so she's been going through that process of packing and putting her mom and it's been an emotional year. Her mom passed away during COVID by herself in a hospital, and so she's been dealing with a lot of emotions anyway. So going through her mom things and just so I think it just helped for her to have this thought process as a young girl that's going to be raising a family and being in there. Yeah.
Okay, we're 11:02 here. We've got a lot of information to deliver today, so I'm going to start. The reason I wore this shirt today, anybody know why? Besides being
You're going
crazy.
clubbing later?
Well, yeah, I'm going clubbing later. How'd you know?
This profile, you're going to show us who you are.
Clubbing with the mask is not advised. So it's because of Cabo. The good news is, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to share my screen with you right now. The registration links are out for Cabo in February. This is you can come on here, and I'm going to play the video from Brent. It's about 2 minutes, so there's the club and music.
Day here in Northern California, but we are thinking about you, and I'm here to announce that we've got the date set for our beautiful, sunny, tropical mastermind for all the leaders at EXP. The Who is coming, and so here it is. Save the dates. It's February 21st to the 26th, and beautiful, sunny, tropical Cabo San Lucas. And there's about 30 drop dead gorgeous resorts on the beach there. We're going to the best one. Not one of the best ones. We're going to the best one. We're going to be staying at the beautiful Hyatt Ziva Resort, Hyatt quality standards, multiple restaurants with outstanding food. I know Kyle Whistles, he sells about $300 million a year. He's going to be there. He says it's their favorite resort in Cabo. They go there all the time. I know Pat Hayes, I believe, is there right now. So we have signed the contract. It's going to be amazing. So get yourself a gorgeous ocean view room. They're $225 a night. Want to save a few bucks? You can get a garden view room for $200 a night, but it includes all of your entertainment, adult beverages. You get to hang out with us. We have the best time. I don't know about you, but who's ready for a vacation? So again, our event's going to be the 21st to the 26th of February. Save those dates. Sign up today. Get yourself a room. Also, our event is 9 to noon every morning. We're not going to put you in a conference room for 9 and keep you there till 5. You get out at noon, go have lunch, hit the beach, go surfing, catamaran, snorkel, scuba, play golf, hang out with us at the pool or the beach, horseback ride. Going to be a blast. Don't miss it. It is going to be, we'll have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the stars at EXP. We want to hang out with you. We want to get to know you. So we'll see you. Cabo San Lucas, February 21st and 26th. Don't miss it. See you there.
Okay, so here's the schedule. Now, here's what I'll ask you. As far as 2021 is concerned, obviously this is February of 2021. What do you have planned for 2021 that you're investing in yourself? Is it coaching? Is it events like these? These events are amazing. You're going to be able to network with some of the top real estate agents across the country. He mentioned Kyle Whistle doing 500 homes. You'll have people doing 300 homes, 700 homes. It's a great opportunity for you to come and learn what real estate agents at the highest level are doing in their business, number one. Number two, it's a great networking event for some of you who have people who you are trying to attract to the company so that they can also see firsthand these folks and what they're doing in their business, both in revenue share, organization building, and in unit count and volume count. So the event price is $397 per person. Brent mentioned about the hotel rooms, and then, you have the registration process. If you guys have people who want to come, who can't afford it, who are guests that you want to invite, or who are potential agent attractors, let us know. We need to figure out a way right now to make certain that they're there for your future. And secondarily, we definitely, if you have questions about it, call me, call whoever attracted you, to EXP or your sponsor. But we want to get as many people there as possible. I'm going to stop share for a minute. We're also going to have team building events there specific to our organization. Probably do a couple of dinners and some catamaran cruises. So it's a great time for us to collaborate together and some personal masterminds with some of these top producing agents. Again, it's really only 9 to noon every day. So there's a really wide open schedule for us to help each other grow. Any questions about that event before we move on? Okay, so here it is. It's brentgove.com/Cabo if you want the registration link. Okay, just opened up. Now we're gonna go. We got about 20 people in here, I guess. We're gonna go and we're going to talk a little bit about the market. And here is a market update from Altos as of 8/21.
Okay, it's Monday, September 21st, 2020, and this is your look at the latest Altos research data that came in over the weekend for the entire U.S. real estate market. The macro data,
Cool
the
hair.
important trends of the 2020 real estate market they're intact this week. Prices remain elevated, super tight supply. The unstoppable consumer demand for homes continues. Next week, you'll see some headline numbers like the Case-Shiller Index for August, which will obviously show strong home price gains. We'll be looking at October already, and none of the leading indicators are backing off at all. October is the 6-month anniversary of the mortgage forbearance program. So 6 million of the borrowers have been in this program. The participation rate is actually declining as people start paying their mortgages again. So that's actually good news. There are 1 million or so homeowners behind on mortgages, but not in forbearance. Foreclosures have been shut off, so these will start having to be worked out after the first of the year. Well, what's interesting is because there's only about 1.5 million mortgages in the country with negative equity. Everybody else has got equity. And this negative equity number keeps dropping every day as our home values rise like crazy this year. So the total number of potentially distressed sellers in, for example, Q1 and Q2 next year actually looks pretty limited. So we continue to say that we're unlikely to see any big changes in inventory in October. So
Should pop back on here in a second. Having a connectivity problem.
first, total number of potentially distressed sellers in, for example, Q1 and Q2 next year actually looks pretty limited. So we continue to say that we're unlikely to see any big changes in inventory in October. So October is the 6-month anniversary. And so the forbearance program needs to get renewed in October, but unlikely to see any real uptick in inventory in October. Maybe a slight uptick after January 1 when foreclosures can start. And then again, really the window is April of 2021. Home prices this week are steady at $350,000 for single family, median home price for single family homes in the US. We're now obviously past the summer buying season peak. Normally this peak happens at like June 30. This year, the market peaked almost 2 full months later, really the 3rd week of August, between August 21st and 28th this year. There are some markets like the ones we've called the Zoom towns or the co-primary home markets. These are the ones that are getting the boost of buyers who can now work remotely. There's a lot of these markets that are still climbing in price way later in the year than they normally would. For example, the California mountain towns usually peak in pricing in April of the year. But this year, the demand versus supply equation is so far out of whack that prices are still climbing all the way this late in the summer into autumn. Active inventory fell this week by 1%, down to 573,000 single-family homes on the market. So this is 41% fewer than September of 2019. And, you know, it's really, you can see by the red line on this chart that we're aiming for under 500,000 homes for.
I'm going to stop here for a minute. Check out these line graphs. This is available homes in the United States in 2019 based on month. Look where we're at now. That is a crazy trend for lack of inventory. When you're talking and you're having this narrative discussion with buyers and sellers out there, these are the illustrations that you need to bring to them to share with them why the market is like this. For sellers specifically who are on the edge of not wanting to list or waiting until after the election or whatever it is, whatever objection that they have, simply put, this graph should overcome it. And your ability to describe this graph and with the passion of now is the time to get you the top dollar will be the objection that overcomes whatever that they can throw out at you. This is a phenomenal graph in relation to these past years of inventory and explains to you right up front where we're at. The second thing that you can share with them is, look where we continue to trend. We're down 1% week over week to, I mean, last year we had about 1,050,000 homes. This year we're down below. Right now it's trending that we'll get below. Well, they've got 573, but that number is going to continue to trend. This is the narrative you need to be explaining to your folks out there. Okay, that's why I stopped.
Sale when we start the year in January this year. So no trends, no changes in the trend there. It's just, our shocking situation that we remain in. On the new listings volume, so these are the new properties coming to market each week. We're at 73,000 new listings this week. New properties getting listed. That's sort of right where we've been in September of each year of the last few years. So what's interesting here is that strong demand is actually pulling more homes to market to see if they can fetch the big prices right now. And so that's actually buoying the amount of new listings that are coming. I guess in that sense, the market's working to keep the new listings volume in a reasonably healthy place. We looked into the buyers in the Western US, and it have probably been keeping a lid on some of these new listing volumes, but not really in a way that's like accelerated our inventory crisis for the whole country by a notable amount. For example, there are 20% fewer homes listed in Oregon this week than last, but that's only a couple hundred homes, so 1,000 to 800, maybe down from 1,200 in late July a week. And so that's not enough to move the national numbers. So the buyers aren't really enough to move the national numbers week to week. More importantly, perhaps, is the new listing or the increase of prices. So homes, this is a percentage of homes on the market which have increased their asking price in the last few months. Those are flips, or those are strategic marketing changes. Those are trying to capture the increased demand as the summer goes on. And as we've noted in previous weeks, this price increase number is one of the ways that that home shoppers are still out there in droves. Right? There's bidding wars, there's competitive offers, and this is common like across the country, across price points right now, this late in the year. So even if, for example, the market pulled way back in December of this year, you would see the headlines, the traditional home sales headlines, that won't show up until February. So what this means, what this price increase number means, is that you can bank on strong, like bullish home price headlines until all the way through the end of the year. Homes are on the market now. There's bidding wars. There's competition. There's not that much supply. Mortgage rates are super low, and so the ones that get offers now and they close in October or November, those get recorded in December. So like all of the signals are in the market now are going to keep us bullish through the end of the year. Of course, keep your eye on the Altos data if you want to see, for example, if and when demand changes finally arrive. You'll see it in this data first. So that's the data for this week. As always, visit altosresearch.com for the full details and the latest data. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the little subscribe button to make sure you get these videos and others each week. Please post the questions or contact us directly if you have a view on the market you'd like us to explore.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right now and stop the share. Okay, so This is the reason why some people are, I'm admitting them, but this is the reason why I want you to look at these each week. Many of you,
5-1.
oh, sorry, I'm gonna mute them. I know it's a long few minutes to watch them each week, but I know many of you probably don't have the time otherwise that you sit and you listen and you watch these. This information that comes out is 2 to 3 weeks ahead of what you're going to see in any other major news real estate publication or the media. And so if we talk about opportunity, these videos that we're watching are really your opportunity to share this information before anybody else to your sphere of influence. And I'm trying to impact you as best as I can each week to be sharing these on your social media, share them with your database through KV Core, share them with your leads that you're currently prospecting. Before we dive into the disc profile, the other thing that I'll say is if you currently are sitting out there and you are not using a lead tracker, a contract tracker, if there's no rhyme or reason to what you're doing every day to generate new business, it's time to stop. There's room for improvement there. Go into Workplace, download the contact management, download the lead trackers, and start using them and have that conversation with yourself at the end of each week. How many buyers presentations, how many leads were brought in by you? You know, all of those things that we've talked about in past meetings. It's time to implement. Here's why. There's a huge opportunity out there for you to be taking market share. As business owners, if you owned a Subway, if you owned a car dealer, if you owned whatever it is, I don't care, you name the business, the one key factor that you continuously look at to identify if you're successful in the marketplace is market share. And when you look at your 2021 goals, the idea of what one of the ideas that you have is, I need to go out and get X amount of market share in my marketplace, in my region. We're going to talk about that as we move towards the business planning clinic at the end of the year. But that's just from, really not even from 30,000 feet, from 100,000 feet. Dude, my business this year, I need to go and get 1% of the market share in Sacramento. Right? That's the way we need to be thinking long-term to have a long-term business. Okay. Any questions on so far? Any questions on that? I see a couple people have chatted here. Invite, where can I find these videos? Okay, for those of you who want to find these videos, you just go to YouTube. There's an Altos Research channel that you can subscribe to, or they post these videos every Monday. It's easy to share them in Facebook world, or Facebook world or LinkedIn world. And again, it's Altos, ALTOS Research, as in Los Altos, California. Okay. All right, so today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects in coaching, and sorry, I'm admitting people as they come in, and it's called the DISC profile. By a quick show of hands, and are you guys seeing this kind of whiteboard picture right now? Okay, great. So by a show of hands, and I'm going to change my screen here so that I can see you all, how many of you guys are familiar with the DISC profile? Just raise your hand. Okay. Some of you are, I just see the pictures. So here's the bottom line with the DISC profile. This is the general overview of what we're going to chat about today. But basically, your DISC profile is an assessment. Some people call it a test. You can't fail the DISC profile test. So we talk about it being more of an assessment. And in general, it's your ability to be aware of what behavioral type you exhibit. And in the world, when you go back to the study of this, it really starts with the 4 elements, if you will, of earth, wind, water, fire. Each of those have their own calming, disaster, type of characteristics. And that's the same way with that. That's how we explain the DISC profile. And simply put, what it is we exhibit 4 major components of behavior. One is a D, which is very much a driver or a leader. One is an I, which is an influencer or a charmer. One is a C, which is really a critical thinker and a very compliant person. And then the other is an S, which is a peacekeeper, which are people who are very systematized. We see here at the top that is subdivided into two different types of behavior: outgoing, extrovert, and more reserved, what we would call the introvert. And then if we keep going down, and these are all topics that we're going to talk about today, but this is again the general overview. If we talk about these, we also talk about adaptive, which means when people are put in a stressful environment and they have to flex, or natural. This is how you are normally around your friends, around when you're hanging out with your buddies, and when there's no stress involved. We talk about also as far as the DISC is concerned, what's the validity of it? Well, people like Steve Jobs have used it. Dave Ramsey, for those of you who are Ramseyites, Gary Keller, obviously, in hiring real estate and coming up with a model for DISC profile in relation to specific jobs within the real estate world, and Tony Robbins. If you don't know your DISC profile, you can go on Google and you Google Tony Robbins DISC profile, and you can take the test, and it will share with you based on certain questions. I use the word test again. It's not a test, it's assessment, but you can use that for free to identify what you are. I highly suggest that you do it. Why do we do it? What's the purpose of this in your world, specifically as it relates to business? Well, we can use the DISC assessment to hire the right people for the right jobs, for our own internal growth, meaning we can coach ourselves. We can know what our weaknesses are up front. And how to overcome them. We talk about this personally in your relationships with your kids and your spouse. Those of you who have kids out there know that each child exhibits a different level of behavior. And so how we talk to them, how we can act around them, the way we counsel them needs to be different amongst the specific person. Understand yourself, coach, and then avoid stress. What I'll share with you is if you are, for instance, a high DI, which is more of an outgoing relationship person, and you put yourself into a world, much like let's just call it like a state job where it's a 9 to 5, or you need to be dialing, calls and follow rules and follow the systems, you will burn out. The difference between adaptive and natural is this: it's like a rubber band breaking. If you are naturally calm and reserved, and you are supposed to be put into a drill sergeant type role, what do you think happens to you? You burn out, you stress out. And when you burn out and you stress out, it affects your business. So one of the biggest things as far as coaching is concerned, what I would share with you before we move along here is this: find out your DISC profile and prospect and lead generate and lead around your natural behavioral style. For instance, if you are a systematic person and I put you in front of a luxury listing at a country club in front of social, in front of a huge social crowd, and you are the guy or gal who usually is in the corner with a cocktail, not wanting to talk to anybody, that's stress, right? So for systematic people, you got to find ways to cold call or communicate via internet. Those types of non-relationship growing lead generation tactics. As we keep going in here, so we look at, let's just start with the D. Just again, we're going to dive in deeper, but this is just a really general overview of what this looks like. A D driver represents 3% of the population. And I always say if you had more than 3%, if you had like the systematic person at 69%, nothing would ever get done, because you would have so much ego in the room that people would be fighting each other like kings on top of a hill. So you've got 3% of people who in this world who are a D. Words around the driver are results, action, and authority. What they aren't: timid, gentle, and reserved. And these are folks who most of the time are lobbyists, principals, they're in sales, and they're entrepreneurs or in that C level at a business, COO, CEO, those types. When we go to I, 11% of the population, they're talkative, they're energetic, they're the person that will be at the karaoke bar dancing away. You'll know this person, all right? And they're typically trainers, they're clergymen or pastors, they're preschool teachers, they're actors or actresses, or they're reporters. Their charmer is kind of their number one characteristic word, and then they're not withdrawn or cynical. And we move now to the C's. 17% of the world. They're going to be rules, regulation. They're the Karens of the world, if you will. They're very precise and analytical, and they're thinkers. And these are going to be accountants, secretaries, analysts, biochemists, engineers, and geologists. These are going to be your the structural engineers. And then they're the opposite of what they are, careless and free-spirited. There's a rhyme and there's a reason for everything. Now we move to the S's. This is 69%. These are 7 out of 10 people that you meet will be very systematic and very compliant. This is why it's important as you are speaking with and moving through your presentations, both listing presentations or consultations or bio consultations, you provide a path, a system, a solution, if you will, using that S, of what's next. If I'm sitting down with, I'm just going to use Rich because he's right here. If Rich was a high S and I sit down with him, I would say, hey, Rich, here's what's going to happen next. And then here's what's going to happen. And everything is organized and there's a plan of attack. When you maneuver when you move and maneuver and secure a client, you must create a plan of attack. It will help them feel a lot better inside. If we know people make decisions on emotion, the way that they feel, if they're feeling great inside and you've provided a plan of attack, they will be your client. If you're going in there and they're the ones that are trying to pull out of you what's going to happen next and when it's going to happen and why, there's a likely chance that you're not being that leader for them or providing them the system that will maneuver them forward. Organized, habits, systems, these are very loyal people. They're peacekeepers also. The opposite of an S, impulsive, impatient, and intense. And so when we look both at, we talked earlier about outgoing versus reserved, when we look at the DC, they're task-based. Let's get it done. I don't care how we get it done or when we get, let's get it done. And typically, let's get it done right. The DC is the empire builder, okay? And then this side, the IS, these are people persons. They feed off of energy. And so you got to ask yourself when you're in this disc world and you're counseling yourself and you're growing personally, find yourself here and then understand where you're great and then where you're weak. If you're a DI, it's very tough for you to put to be very litigious, if you will, and very systematic. You need to know that upfront going into a listing presentation, because if I'm a DI and I'm talking to an engineer and these questions that they're asking me are very diagnostic, there's a chance that I'm going to put myself in this adaptive versus natural setting, and I'm going to stress out. And when we stress out like that, we get uncomfortable. And when we're uncomfortable, that shows. And when that shows, it reduces our chance of being able to secure the client. So understand going in what you are, who you're talking to. When we've talked in the past, I always say one of the things that we do systematically is try and find out who that person is. If we know, Eileen, I'm looking at you right now. If I know that I'm going in to speak, for instance, with a investigator or a social worker or a tech in the tech world, I know that I'm going to need to go there with a very systematic plan of attack. And conversely, if I'm an S or C and I'm going in to speak with a driver, I know I just need to get right to the point and forget about all the foo-foo stuff. Okay? These are just very basic rules of human communication. But we've missed them because a lot of us don't understand that this behavioral assessment maneuvers across every relationship that you'll come in contact with. What I'll share with you outside of the question-based selling and the that we've been talking about these past few weeks, and the mindset of where you're going in 2021 and your education of what's happening into the market, the better that you master human behavior, the better salesperson that you're going to be. You'll understand your own weaknesses, their weaknesses, and you'll chat with them. You guys know what the golden rule is? You've heard it before, probably in the Bible. Do unto others as they would do unto you. Well, you got to blow that out, and there's a new thing in the world. It's called the platinum rule. And it's called communicate with others as they want to be communicated to. Okay? Just understand that. So that's the general overview of everything in regards to the DISC profile. Introvert, extrovert, why we need it, who's using it, the type of jobs that these people have that you can research before the appointment to know who they are, who you are, and then catering your presentations, consultations, and the way that you speak to these certain behaviors. Okay, I'm going to stop this really quickly, and I'm going to go into something else. Close this, and here we go. You guys see this? DISC personality profiles. We'll share all of these attachments with you via email today, and I'm going to burn through. There's a lot of information here. I'm going to burn through this very quickly, but this dives into each one of these different personality types. So here you go. They're the driver, high ego, strength, problem solver, risk taker, self-starter. They shape their environment by overcoming opposition to accomplish results. The D-type strengths, bottom line organizer, places value on time, very impatient people. They challenge the status quo. They don't like rules. You guys know rule breakers, right? Weakness is, however, they're going to overstep their authority, attempt to too much at one time. That's why they're very disorganized typically. And they have an argumentative attitude, which is centered around their ego, and they dislike routines. You'll see most salespeople fail because they can't get into a routine. I'm going to say that again. You'll find that most salespeople fail because they can't get into a routine. This is something self-aware that you need to be like, dude, this is one of my weaknesses. It's one of my weaknesses. I hate following routine every day. If I had to work a 9-to-5 job, I would probably just destroy myself. Okay, but however, there's this other thing that's called self-awareness. And once you're self-aware to these types of things, then you can put routines around them to make yourself successful. So typically, these are motivated by new challenges. They're always moving, shaking, building, power and authority, freedom from routine, and changing environments in which work and play is done. And their greatest fear is being taken advantage of. It's important to know when you're sitting down with somebody who's a heavy D, which is also a rap star, by the way. But when you're sitting down with somebody, bring up this up front. Like, what's your biggest fear? Most of the people that I know that are successful, they ain't being taken advantage of. Here's how we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. The ideal environment, innovative focus on future, non-routine challenge tasks and activities. They want to be autonomous. They want to be, hey, if Shannon is a high D, she doesn't want to be micromanaged. The more I micromanage her, the more I push her away. So instead of me saying, Shannon, I want this done this time, if I just say, Shannon, you have the complete authority to do with what you want, just bring your plan back next week, and let's review it. That's the way that we want to talk to a D. Freedom from control and supervision and details. And their personal evaluations based on results, not methods. Oftentimes, Ds will try and reinvent things that have already been completed because it's an ego thing to them. Okay, be aware of that if you're a high driver. Everything that you can think of in the real estate world has already been created. Everything that you can think of in the real estate world has already been created. Don't go recreate it. Follow somebody's model and make it your own. All right, while analyzing information, a D may ignore potential risks, not weigh pros and cons, and not consider the opinions of others. Offer innovative and progressive systems and ideas that will get them to their goal. D-type in a team dynamic, for those of you who are thinking about teams or within your organization, they're leaders. They're self-reliant. They'll manage themselves. They'll push the group to make decisions even without evaluating the decisions at 100%. They speak out. They welcome challenges without fear, accept risk. They see a bigger picture, and they function well with heavy workloads because they can maneuver and create. Areas for personal growth. So this is what you would use when you're coaching yourself. You better be a better listener, be a better attentive to team members' ideas, develop appreciation for opinions, feelings, and desires, be less controlling, pace yourself, relax more energy into personal relationships, show your support for other team members. Rich, did Rich bag out? I don't know. We were talking about this yesterday. Take time to explain the whys of your statements, proposals, and be friendlier and more approachable. Here's the bottom line, what a D wants. Authority, prestige, freedom, direct answers. This is where you don't hem and haw around an answer when a D asks you a question. They want to promote growth and build an empire. And they want a bottom line approach, black and white we talk about. They want opportunity for advancement. So here's what you do. Be brief, direct, to the point. Ask what, not how questions. Ask a lot of questions of a D because they're going to be in control. If you're trying to go and, one of your whales that we've been talking about over the past few months, your 30 whales, most of them are going to be drivers. Don't make statements. Just ask questions. Eileen, how did you get so successful? Tell me about that. What about what's next for you? What's your next biggest challenge? You will win a D over by not saying anything and letting them talk. That's the bottom line. Focus on the business. Remember, D's desire results, suggest ways to achieve results and solve problems, and highlight logical benefits of featured ideas and approaches. Do not ramble, repeat yourself, focus on problems, be too sociable, make generalizations, or make statements without support. Because everything that you say to them is a challenge. So here's an example. Eileen, how does it feel if I say, Eileen, let me tell you something? That feel good?
Depends on what it is, but
Okay.
yeah.
Just in general, does that feel good or does this feel better? Eileen, do you mind if I share some stuff with you?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay. So one is asking permission and sharing instead of being a direct teller. As soon as you try and tell a D something, they're going to find a reason in their mind immediately to go, well, that's not right. I need to prove them wrong. See how that works? Okay, that's just in general. Somebody looks at me and says, Sean, let me tell you something. The immediate thing I'm going to go is, you're not going to tell me anything, right? Just share it with me. Let me make the decision. I'm the decision maker, okay? So keep moving along. Here's the I, influencer. These folks, enthusiastic, trusting, optimistic, persuasive, talkative, impulsive, and emotional. This is at your work in the past when we could go to work. These are your coffee talkers. These are your people who are around the copy machine talking and wanting to share with you what they did this weekend and last weekend. They shape their environment by influencing, persuading others, and having them like them. So here's the strengths. They're problem solvers. They're creative. They've got a lot of energy and they're encourager and they motivate people and they typically have a good sense of humor and they're peacemakers, but they're more concerned about popularity than tangible results. This is a problem in the business world. They're inattentive to detail. They overuse gestures and facial expressions, and they tend to listen only when it's convenient for them. They want to be the talkers most of the time. They're motivated by flattery, praise, popularity, and acceptance. It's important to know when you're building an organization, sometimes it's just about the flattery that will keep people involved. When I was at Keller Williams, it was like every Wednesday we had the, oh my God, here's your payday bar for closings last week. And that meant more to them. That most of the time that'll mean more to the eye than what they take home in their dollar figure, which is really weird, but understand who's in your organization and praise them accordingly. Same thing for your clients. Same thing with your referral partners or your business partners. If you have a lender who's had a stellar month or a financial planner who's had a stellar month or somebody that you do business with and you know they're a high, dude, put them on point on Facebook and say, you did an excellent job. Or I want to share with you, Ed Fohas was the top agent in Orange County last month. Those things go a long way to continue to build relationships and to keep people motivated. Their greatest fear is rejection. And, I'm sure there's 1,000 stories out there about high eyes who have been rejected but just understand it. Ideal environment, practical procedures, few conflicts and arguments, freedom from control and details. They want to be able to express their ideas and help coach and counsel people. And they want to be in a social group activity and environment. While analyzing the information that you're delivering to them, an I-type may lose concentration. Have you ever been in a listing presentation, you're on one point and they just throw you like this curveball question about, well, tell me about your family, or what are you doing this weekend, or something along those lines? That should be your first point. This is a high I. I'm going to stop then going into my presentation, and guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to have a conversation with them, because the more rapport I can build with them over that short period of time, the better chance I have of closing the deal. If I dive right back into my presentation, guess what they're going to feel? Rejected. Okay? You have to be able to utilize, this is why this is so important. And I said it's like the fourth wheel in your success in real estate. You have to be able to adapt and move based on your audience. Okay? And they will miss important facts and details, and they will interrupt you a lot. If you come across a high I, let them have control of the conversation and just build rapport with them. Be creative in the problems. And maybe one of the things that you would use as a closing for an I is, listen, Nancy, I really like you. I've had a great conversation. I think we can do business together today. What do you think? They're not going to care about, they're not going to care about that you're sending 5x7 postcards out, or that you're syndicating out to 320 websites, or they don't care about the market statistics or the market details. They just want you to like them. Understand it. So I-types, team dynamic, influencer, participatory manager, influence and inspire. They help to provide direction and leadership, accomplish goals through people, motivating the team. They're spontaneous and agreeable. Everybody likes them most of the time. They're articulate. They're offer opinions. They're persuasive. And ultimately, as a peacemaker, they create an atmosphere of well-being. So many of you guys know the story behind Keller Williams. Maybe you don't, but I'm going to share with you. Gary Keller is a super high D. And almost to the point that he drives people away. It wasn't until he brought on Mo Anderson, who is this high I and from Oklahoma, and oh my God, I love everybody, come here, baby, who brought the company to a new level, because she said, Gary, you got to go away, man. Just build stuff behind the scenes, drive the company, and I'm going to be the face of it because people like me. People want to communicate with me. I can influence people. I can be the peacemaker. And so when you understand there's a yin and a yang to your own behavioral analysis, you can, and specifically as you're building a team or surrounding yourself with a team of people, you can use these different types of knowledge in relation to the business, to the disc profile, to bring on people with you that accent who you are and what your normal characteristics of assessments are. Areas for personal growth: be less impulsive, weigh pros and cons when making decisions, exercise control of your actions, be a better listener in that regard, be more results oriented. It's why it's important that those of you out there who are high eyes, most great salespeople have high eyes, have the conversation with yourself at the end of each week. What did I really accomplish this week? What did it look like? How many contacts did I make? How many of those turned into prospects, and how many turns into appointments? And that is how you're going to overcome the ability just to want to do things on the fly and without systems or reason. Focus more on details and facts. Slow down remember, when you have a team, slow down the pace for the other team members. Talk less, listen more, consider and evaluate ideas from other team members. What they want social acceptance, recognition, freedom from details. They want to talk to people, and they want opportunity to influence others. Be friendly, give opportunity, talk with these people, talk in action with these people, which means really have deep conversations with them. Share your testimonials. High eyes love stories. So when you're talking to a high eye, make sure you have some stories to back up what you're trying to sell. Allow time for stimulating social activities. Cement details in writing, develop a Participatory relationship, create incentives for follow through. Don't eliminate social time. Don't do all the talking. Don't ignore their ideas, and don't tell them what to do. All right, now we're moving on to steady. S, good listeners, team players, possessive, steady, very predictable, understanding, and friendly. This is like my sister, guys. So for you high eyes out there, I'm gonna share with you what my sister does. I always do Thanksgiving at my house, okay? And guess when I go to the grocery store before Thanksgiving? Anybody? The night before. That's right. I will go the night before. My sister's the one who works for the state, 9-to-5 job, which is awesome. She's calling me 3 weeks before Thanksgiving going, well, what do you want me to bring to Thanksgiving? What time do you want me to be there? You know, who's coming? All those systematic related questions. And so I'm like, it drives me nuts, right? Because that's just not me. But that's how in a relationship, in your personal relationships, it's important that you understand your wife, your kids, your sisters, who they are, and how you can better communicate with them. So it's made I'm trying to be a better brother and make Thanksgiving more easy for her. If she didn't know what she's supposed to bring until the night before Thanksgiving, it's not going to be a great Thanksgiving. Okay. So as we move forward, cooperates with others within existing circumstances to carry out tasks. So as strength is they're reliable, they're dependable, they're loyal, they're compliant towards authority, they're good listeners, patient, empathetic, they're good at reconciling conflicts. Here's the other part about it. If you give a high S a checklist of things to do, they will show up as a driver. We've talked about this before. Because they will get everything done. It's like a mental checklist for them. Boom, boom, I got to knock all these things out. As far as weaknesses is concerned, they're resistant to change. They don't like it. Takes a long time to adjust to change. They'll hold they're grudge holders typically. They're sensitive to criticism, and it's difficult. They have a difficulty in established priorities, typically. All right, they're motivated by recognition, loyalty, dependability, safety, and security. No sudden changes in procedures or lifestyles, activities that can be started and finished. Their greatest fear is loss of security, loss of that system. Ideal environment, a team atmosphere, practical procedures and systems, stability and predictability, tasks that can be completed, and few conflicts and arguments. When analyzing information, an S-type may be outwardly agreeable but inwardly unyielding. They'll internalize their concerns and doubts. They'll hesitate to share feedback during a presentation, and they'll slow down to action. Why would they hesitate and share feedback? They don't want when you raise your hand in a meeting, what happens? Everybody looks at you and calls on you. That's not the characteristic of an S typically. They want to be in the corner. They want to be an extrovert, okay? So it's important that if you're managing a team and you have a high S on there, you either ask them in person, one-on-one, or sometimes you ask them maybe in email. Slow down the action and provide valuable support for team goals. So they typically, as far as relationship, they're an instinctive relator. They make others feel like they belong. They show sincerity. They're focused and intuitive. They strive to build relationships, and they show patience with others. In a team environment, they'll buy into the team goal. They'll identify strongly with the team in their loyalty, and they'll provide a specialized set of skills. And they can see an easier way typically of doing things, very much more systematic. They're full of common sense. They'll consider elements of the total project. They're realistic and practical, and they'll help to provide stability to you and to the team. Areas for personal growth: be open to change, be more flexible, be more direct in your interactions, deal constructively with confrontations, work at expressing thoughts, opinions, and feelings, focus on the overall goals, show more initiative, and increase pace to accomplish goals. What they want: security, appreciation, repeated work patterns, time to adjust to change, and a limited territory of responsibility. Here's what we're going to do when we're dealing with an S. Create favorable environment that's personable and agreeable. Express genuine personal interest in them. Provide clarification on tasks and answer the how questions. Be patient in drawing out goals. Give them time to adjust, clearly define their goals, procedures, and their role, explain how their actions will minimize involved risks and enhance current procedures. Don't be pushy, overly aggressive, demanding, or be too confrontational. It's just outside of their realm. Typically a high S, it's outside of their realm in dealing with confrontations because it's outside of their wheelhouse. That's just not who they are. All right, and finally, compliance. C, accurate, analytical, conscientious, careful, fact finder, precise, high standards, and systematic. Here's what I'll share with you before we start the S, or before we start the C. Anybody remember the Golden Girls?
We're heading over.
Okay,
We
cool.
need to talk. It's starting our sooner than we thought.
Okay, anybody remember the Golden Girls?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, can you see each one of the Golden Girls exhibited one of these major behavioral styles?
Yeah.
That's what made for such good TV. Okay, so that's just something that I bring up when I'm teaching this class. So C-type, strengths, perspective, they're going to be the anchor of reality. They're going to be the person that doesn't drive 25 miles an hour over the speed limit in a 25 zone. As far as when we keep going in strengths, they're even-tempered. They're thorough in all activities. They're defined the situation. They'll gather, criticize, and test information. They're going to be the ones that want to review every page of the loan docs, okay, and the escrow docs. They need clear-cut boundaries for actions and relationships. A lot of times these people are in analysis paralysis. They're bound by procedures and methods, gets bogged down in details, prefer not to verbalize feelings, and will give in rather than argue typically. They're motivated by standards of high quality, limited social interaction, detailed tasks, opportunities to demonstrate expertise, and logical organization. And their biggest fear is actually criticism. So the ideal environment, their tasks and projects that can be followed through and completed, specialized for technical tasks, their practical work procedures, few conflicts, instructions, and reassurance that what they're doing or what is expected of them. If you have a C as a client, give them a job. Okay? Give them a job. Here's what I need you to do, Rich. Can you call so-and-so and get a price for this? Can you make sure that this is done? They'll feel like they're part of the solution, okay? Because whatever you do with a C, here's why. With a C, whatever you do, it's not going to be good enough. It's not going to be detailed oriented enough. Play to their strengths, not your weaknesses, if that makes sense. While analyzing information, a C may become overly cautious and conservative, get too bogged down in the details, avoid or postpone decisions, especially if they perceive a risk. In a team dynamic, they're an instinctive organizer. They'll have a do-it-yourself thought process because nobody can do it as good as they can. They're perfectionists. They strive for logical, consistent environment. They want to control the details, emphasize quality. They'll help you analyze obstacles, evaluate the team progress, and then they're very diplomatic because they use facts as their means of persuasion. And they will offer subtle, indirect approaches. Again, we're not talking about a high I, so their ability to come out of that shell and give actual immediate feedback is it's typically not going to happen. Personal growth for a C, respond more quickly to team goals, be more decisive, take risks along with other team members. Concentrate on doing right things, not just things right. Focus less on facts and more on people. When we talked to Brent a few weeks ago, he mentioned something around progress before perfection. And if you're a high C, that's what you need. You'll get into analysis paralysis. Like you'll take 2 months to launch your website because it's not perfect. It doesn't have the perfect logo. In the meantime, you've lost out on 2 months of potential clients. Be less critical of others, ideas, and methods, and strive to build relationships with other team members. Here's what they want: autonomy, independence, controlled work environment, values and quality and reassurance, and precise expectations and goals, and exact job descriptions and plan change. And here's what we're doing when we're interacting with the C. We want to prepare our case in advance. If you're managing a C, or if your client happens to be a C, you need to show up with all your I's dotted and T's crossed. These are the people that will you send them a DocuSign, they will print the DocuSign out and go through it and tell you what typos you have in there, where you missed a comma. Understand that's who they are and then cater to them after that. Support ideas and statements with accurate data. Okay, one of the other things that I wanted to share with you is this. Here's why the real estate world is it's so tough to run a team. Number one, people don't understand leadership ideas such as the behavior, such as this, but they will expect an S or a C. Like if Rich is running a team, he will expect an S or a C to come in and build these systems for them. They're not builders. You need to find the systems to implement and give to them and say, follow this direction, follow this guideline. That's where most agents go wrong, and that's why they burn through assistants after assistants after assistants. It's not the assistant, it's the fact that we're not understanding the behavioral style of our support staff. Just something to think about. So don't refuse to explain details. Don't answer questions vaguely or casually. And so often we say, which personality are you? Many of you probably know this. It's 11:59, and so here's some worksheets that we're going to send out to you. And I have, for those of you who are building a team or attracting agents, I want to share a couple things with you. We've got this, which is obviously the keywords and fast and aggressive and task oriented and all these things. This is the model for it. We've got one of these to fill out for you as you want. Maybe you want to do a class on this to some of the people that you're referring business to or trying to get in with, or sales teams, or with your own organization. Super important that people know these the answers to these, okay? But I also want to share with you, Keller Williams did a great job with Recruit Select. Many of you who were there went through it. And we can, as a coaching, within the coaching realms, let's just say, we look at the different DISC profiles, and based on models that have happened in the past for people who have burned out or who have highly succeeded in their role, we can look and say, here are some different personality types that fits different jobs. And so what we get a lot of times, guys, and I'll be quite honest with you, many of you are joining the real estate world going, man, I want to be a top producing agent. The DISC profile is your path to success, because you currently are in a natural environment of whether, if you're an S or a C or an I or an S, that is your natural environment. Until you understand, I have to break through that ceiling of achievement and almost change the way that I think or adapt or behave so that I can maneuver into that next jar. That's the goal. That's the growth measure that we're talking about. So when we look at some of these things like team leader typically always a DI or an ID. Assistant team leader, well, let's go down here and go mega agent, lead listing specialist, lead buyer specialist, or administrative assistant. So those of you who are wanting to build a team, you'll notice a lot of the time people who get in are high DI, they come on a team and then they go and do their own thing. That's because they're not made to follow systems. They're gonna quickly ascend out of that systematic role and go, dude, I want to go do my own thing. All right, but for those ISs, they didn't understand, if you're building a team, most of the time an IS is a great buyer's agent because they'll follow a system and they can connect with people, but they're not great at lead generation, okay? So we can use the behavioral assessments to understand where we're going to flourish. And then secondarily, I feel like I've ascended a little bit from the systematic to more of a DI. And it's a lot of stress. So you're going to have to deal with that breaking of the rubber band to get to the next level. Understand that. And so anyway, this is a bit of how we would use a model of what the DISC profile looks like to hire the right person for a job or to counsel them about where they should be, where they will best flourish in real estate. There's also this brief chart, if you will, of how to communicate with each style. And, I'm not going to go over this because we're running deep, but it gives you really practical, if you will, measures of how to communicate with these people. If they're warm and friendly environment, they're not going to deal with a lot of details. what not to do with them. And so this can be a cheat sheet as this can be a cheat sheet for you as you interact with people. This is more important, in my opinion, this is more important than scripting. If you don't understand what to say, that's going to penetrate your client because of the behavioral style. You're going to fail anyway. We'll send this out to you, and then ultimately, for those of you who want to hire team members, that we've got this how to use the DISC test to hire your team members, and it actually in alignment with let me keep scrolling down here. In alignment with the information and the graphs that you get from the Tony Robbins, it will show you in alignment what these DISC profiles look like so that you can hire the right person. It actually gives you a step-by-step guide of how to hire the right person for the right job here. And so, and here you see it actually gives you the link to the Tony Robbins DISC profile. So anyway, I'm going to stop share. We've gone over. Annette's trying to get back in, so I'll let her join in. But that in a nutshell, and there's so much more to this that excites me. One of my goals for 2021 is to actually get DISC certified so that I can go and teach this to small businesses and also teach it to the organization, because I think it's super important. That's really all I have. What do you guys got? Any ahas out there? I'm going to burn through the questions.
So you're clearly a D. What's your second letter?
What? It has changed. Yeah, I mean, it has changed, to be quite honest with you, because you got to think I was in the Navy before, right? And so that was 6 years of pretty straightforward, consistency, if you will. And so I think when I got out of the Navy, I was a DC and like this empire builder. But as I've gotten into this business, I've adapted to the point now where, I mean, really naturally, if you want me to be quite honest with you, Shannon, and I've shared this with a lot of you out there, the real me doesn't like to talk to people. The real me would rather be in the corner, like by myself. Here's why. Because when I got this high I going, I'm giving energy out right now. And you only have so much energy to give throughout the day. So when I'm by myself, and this is me at night, when I'm by myself, I just like complete silence. It helps me to recharge. And it's something that on top of everything else is something that you need to understand for yourself. What helps you to recharge? So when I was a team leader, I've shared this with you guys too, as many of you, it almost killed me, because the little piddly stuff, people coming in and going, oh my God, there's a piece of art above the toilet that looks terrible. In my mind, I'm going, get your ass back to your office and prospect, because you're not busy enough. So that's a stress for me, having to deal with all those little things from people on the eye level. And it just, it stretched my rubber band to the point where I would literally go home at 5 p.m. from the office and crawl right into bed, because I needed that to recharge. That's not, and that's not depression. It was putting me in an environment that made me stretch to the point of almost breaking. So now getting back to where you're asking, it's important you recognize these things, right? So now getting back to what you're asking, I would see myself more as a DI now. I'm more comfortable in dealing in social environments and not stressing out about it. I'm more comfortable having a conversation. So I would say right now I'm a DIC. And this is why I got Chrissy. She's my S. Isn't that great? Lucky her. Lucky her.
Although I don't know if that's changed, I have to take it again.
And you'll see this in great business relationships. You see it in like Walt Disney and Roy Disney. One's the super driver, but I don't know how the hell we're going to get it done. And Roy Disney comes and says, okay, here's a plan of how we're going to get it done. Let's start with the financing. Let's start with acquiring land. Let's start with this. There's a yin and a yang. You'll find that in relationships as well. You'll find the opposites attract in siblings. You'll find opposites attract in marriages. And but here's why, and many of you who have been in this world of real estate a long time and have seen partnerships implode over and over and over again in real estate. You got two DIs. That's like having two magnets that are completely, forcefully against each other. So, this is just something that you understand. And I would suggest in 2021, all of your goals is to to get certified in the DISC, because it will help you in every aspect of your life. If you think about real estate, real estate is not real estate. Real estate is relationships. If you really wanted to double your business next year, you would go and double your relationship count. That may be hard, but that would get you double the business. So, you know, if you understand relationships, if you understand behavior, dude, you're like the top one. You'll already be like the top 1% of agents in the nation.
Sean, you gave two different ahas that are off the charts. I think it's easy to forget. The first one is when you said if you give one of our buyers or sellers a job, they have ownership and they feel like they're part with us and they partner with us. You know, we don't normally think of us giving them jobs to do to make them feel comfortable with the process going forward. The second thing is when you gave that paperwork about the Recruit Select, that is off the charts amazing. It is literally pulling the curtain back and seeing the other stuff. It is probably the quickest cheat sheet you can ever have for something great.
That's right.
Good job.
That's right. Thank you, sir. And you know, most of the onboarding packets that I have for you, and hopefully many of you, if you haven't, we've missed you, go and do your DISC profile. And if you want me to validate it for you, I would be happy to do that. But, you know, with everybody that you're bringing on board, you know, from an agent attraction, or if you're hiring for your team, or even your kids, you know, give them this. This is such a valuable tool for life, not just business, because you can take that and give it to your kid who's in high school or junior high and say, dude, this is really where you're going to flourish in life. You know, you're a bit of an introvert, extrovert, okay, whatever. Well, let's look at being an engineer. Let's look at being, you know, a scientist. Let's look at these things, because that's where you're going to succeed. Don't swim upriver, or don't try and swim against the river, swim with it, you know? And so, yeah, Rich, it's good. And not only that, not only does it help them take ownership, Rich, but I think ultimately it helps get them off your back, which is super important, you know? So thank you. Anybody else? I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed our Wednesday meeting. I have no idea as a high D what next week's meeting is going to be about right now. Chrissy will tell me once we hang up here, and then I will do my best to prepare an awesome next Wednesday for you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. And we'll send these out. We'll send out these attachments later today, okay?
Thanks.
Okay. Don't forget Cabo.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, guys.